I don't have a lot of hope for a bunch of media that's out there. Most of it, you can just take a look and just go, oh my god, that's going to be terrible. And maybe something will surprise you and end up being good. House of the Dragon, for me, when it comes to television, was one such surprise. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, or something that I would definitely be cherishing or even talking about a couple of years later and eagerly looking forward to with its release this summer. I actually can't wait for that, but something that's coming out very shortly that, oh my god, I just want to be good. The 3 parts that are supposed to be coming, I just want it to be good, because right now I'm currently going through a replay. My first replay, even though, I 100%ed it, and I got my platinum trophy over on, PlayStation, I'm sorry, on PS4, back when it initially came out in 2020, but I'm actually playing it back with mods and playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and god, it's so good. I love it. I love that game so much. I was looking forward to it. I remember when it was first announced back at E3 in 2016. I'm sorry, it was even earlier than that. It was 2014. Oh, it was E3 2015, because at that same show they also, teased out Kingdom Hearts 3. That was about the peak of E3. It's now since, closed up shop, and the video game industry is much different than it is today. This was, prior to that great Trump apocalypse that broke every creative's mind. Yeah, it took forever because it was supposed to be the complete game, then it was going to be episodic, and then the first part came out, and then there was very little information about, okay, when you're doing a second one, and if it's going to be episodic, these are supposed to be coming out quickly, but we're right here, okay, at the end of February 28th, I do believe is the release date for Rebirth. I don't know anything about that. I've kept myself away from trailers. I've kept myself away from spoilers because I want to play this goddamn game so bad. This is one thing that I'm actually looking forward to, okay? And I'll find a way to play it in some form or fashion. I don't have a PS5. I'm trying desperately to find a way to get one. God damn it. I want this to be good. And then I see information like this and I'm just like, fuck, let me have something, for Christ's sakes. I hope that this is getting blown out of proportion, because this is one of the OGs, one of the guys that worked on the initial Final Fantasy VII, which I know for a lot of people, Final Fantasy VII is their favorite game, but guess what? It's like my 3rd favorite Final Fantasy. I wasn't even like a big fan of the original one, even though it's the one that I probably played the most and I discussed with my friends the most growing up. It's funny, right? Because it came out in 1997, okay? I was only 7 at the time. But in grade 5 and grade 6, it was still, okay, how old are you? So what was that, 2002, 2003? Yeah. No, 2001, 2002, right? Yeah, that's when that would put that in. Like the PS2 was already out at that point in time, but this is all our friends, or my friend group, we would talk about. Okay, we were playing, group games and that stuff. We were sharing saves back and forth with Final Fantasy VII. Some of my most fond gaming memories revolve around this franchise, and, well, everything post 10 pretty much sucks, in my opinion. Didn't play any of the MMOs. 12 that's one of those games. Okay, just a little bit of a sidetrack here for a second. I played all the way up to when you can get on the airbase Bahamut, and then I just quit for like years and didn't even bother finishing the game. I eventually came back and beat it, and maybe I'll run it back and play it with mods here now that Zodiac Age is on PC. Like, I'll eventually get around to it, but it's nothing that's really pressing me. 13, I think all of those horseshit games speak for their own reputation that they've cultivated for themselves. And 15, some of it's fun, but the story sucks a weather balloon full of dicks. So for the fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake was good, and that fun to play, I was floored that Square Enix still had it in them. And given the fact that some of the OGs from the original game were on it, totally made sense. But then some of the other proclivities and, also potentially handing it off to Tetsuya Nomura. I was like, oh god, don't do that. But thankfully he's, left the project. So it's like, yes, it's not just going to become some watered down version of Kingdom Hearts. Oh, thank god, you might actually have a cohesive idea of where the story's going to go this time around. And yeah, there weren't, and like I said, I'm playing through Remake again on PC. There's outside, like, you could take some issue with some of the stuff of the Honeybee Inn, but realistically, there's no woke elements in that game. It's just a straightforward story. And for some of the people, oh, we just wanted a remake. Well, fucking play the game on PC with mods, you fuckers. If that's all you wanted, go ahead and do that. There's a new story with the characters that you love, and they're trying to do something unique with that. And in my opinion, they're succeeding. So yeah, I'm excited for what happens next. I cannot drive that home hard enough. I just want more of that story. I want them to go out into the world. Okay, I want to see Junian. I want to see Midgar Zolom impaled on a tree. I want to see how far they're going to go into the story, how much they're going to deviate from it. I want to see Cosmo Canyon, because that picture right there, that screenshot, like I said, I haven't watched any of the trailers or anything like that. It kind of looks like they're standing in Guggenheimen's, little observatory with the stars in the background. I want to see all of that stuff. I just don't want it to be fucking bad, okay? Because I know that Square Enix has become more westernized, and Western video games have fucking sucked for the better part of a decade. Please don't do this to the one thing that I'm looking forward to. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase, who I think he was the guy who, like, a radical idea that he had for the original Final Fantasy VII during the final mission. If you haven't played it, spoilers, the game's 25 fucking years old at this point in time. Wanted to kill off all of the other players that you didn't pick when you head back into Midgar for the final mission of Disc 2, and then just simply only have that group of characters going into the, Disc 3 and into the Northern Crater. That would have been absolutely wild and mind-blowing, on top of the other obvious character death, which I'm not even entirely sure that they're going to do in Rebirth, and that's what makes it so interesting, because yeah, if you're just going to end up hitting the same story beats over and over again and not tell a new story, yeah, of course. I really think that somebody's going to end up dying, and that one will really hurt my heart, but I want to play it, and I want to find out, and I don't want it to fucking suck. Anyways, says he's a bit embarrassed, right? Yoshinori Kitase, who was super based about this stuff, and this could be a translation error, but I'm also trying to apologize for some shit, and it's like, oh god, please don't. He's a bit embarrassed by original game's portrayal of social problems, social issues, and cultural depictions. Fuck, man. No, don't. I see this shit enough. Don't do it. Don't do it! Yoshinori Kitase, producer of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the original, is embarrassed how the original game he directed handled social issues and cultural depictions. Yeah, like that story right there. Okay, you got, well, that's supposed to be Sid. Somebody's using a custom game set, or I'm sorry, custom names on that one. So you have Sid yelling at his wife. Oh, fuck, I forget her name. But anyways, he had to just go ahead and fix everything because he had aspirations of leaving Rocket Town. He's going to be the first guy into space, brought on by a Shinra rocket, and she ended up saving his life by continuing to run tests in the payload of the rocket. And she's like, no, you can just go ahead and you can leave and, burn me up and all that stuff. And of course, he just decided to go, oh, fucks it. And then, ruined his dream and all that stuff. Even though she was correct at the end of the day. Like, there's a very complex tale that's right there, and obviously he's still going to be really pissed off at the outcome of that, knowing that he sacrificed his dream for her life, still holding resentment against her. Like, it's a good story that's right there, and if he has problems with that, it's good writing that was right there, even though Sid's like just above Kate Sith for the characters and above Yuffie for the characters that I actually give a fuck about in that story. God damn it. It'll be interesting to see his representation going forward in the next two games. Some of those who worked on Final Fantasy VII recently spoke to Game Informer's. Brian Shea. Oh, that guy's kind of a hack, so this could be taken out of context. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of hope back. Kitase said that the game's director and writer, alongside Kazushika Nojima, based the story by series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi and Tetsuya Nomura. The team discussed how the game started Final Fantasy VII titles being created in a modern way, while individuals would throw in elements on a whim with Final Fantasy VI and prior Final Fantasy VI. My second favorite Final Fantasy game? It's tremendous. And that's not even with like nostalgia goggles on or anything like that. I didn't play that until like my mid-20s, by the way. That shit's great. Oh, I could talk about Final Fantasy all day long. It would be Final Fantasy VIII, which is another one of my most fond memories, even though I don't like that game at all whatsoever. I've played it multiple times and I'm still trying to convince myself I like it, but no, it's not fun. Just the battle system's so fucked. That saw the team begin to use more rigid plans and compartmentalizing. Okay. Yeah, I would say, yeah, because there was a bit of a transition with Seth. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Nomura explained how Final Fantasy VII was a mix between the two extremes. Yeah, because, well, it was your first 3D endeavor, and it was also a departure from the original steampunk medieval aesthetic that categorized the previous 6 entries. So, yeah, okay. And given the length of the narrative and the number of places that you went, like, it was a much bigger endeavor. So yeah, shout out to them for having a concerted effort in telling a centralized story. I like it. Nomura explained how Final Fantasy VII, mixed between the two extremes, though people could sneak in lines into the script without being noticed. And that's one thing they'll go ahead and not dock it for, but just, chalk it up to a sign of the times. The translation, it was pretty trash. It was pretty ass, by the way. Okay, and that's something that I like because it was Ares. It was Ares forever. And then, what was it? What was the first time that it was brought to light? It's like, well, actually, it's supposed to be Aerith. I guess probably canonical pronunciation wasn't, fully entrenched until Advent Children came out. I don't know about you. I myself have 3 copies of that fucking movie. Anyways, Kitase adds that Nojima was the final reviewer of the game's story content, even though it was sort of an anything goes a type of world then. Oh, yeah, and games were so much better. God damn it, man. There is nothing, okay? Like, there's a lot of games that don't hold up from the PlayStation era, but the NES, Super Nintendo, all of that stuff, man, it's as good as you remember. So I filled in the gaps with the games that you probably should have played if you had a Super Nintendo, if you were a fan of JRPGs back in the cut. And yeah, I played Chrono Trigger. Wasn't the biggest fan of Chrono Trigger. Don't think it's bad by any means. I would just, I'd probably put it at, like, personally, me speaking, like, I'd have to probably go back and play it. It's been about 5 years since I played it, and I was like, it's fine. Probably give it a 7, an 8, maybe. But then again, I'd only give the original Final Fantasy VII like an 8. 6 probably gets a 9. Yeah, 6 gets a 9. Anyways, Kitase also discussed how the game handled real-world issues back in 1997. Shay giving examples of corporate greed, environmentalism, and mental health. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Shinra, environmentalism, Avalanche is an eco-terrorist group, by the way. And mental health. Yeah, Cloud suffering with a bunch of shit, which is pretty well handled in the remake. Like, really well, especially the mental health stuff. And the corporate greed, it's probably ratcheted up, but it's been a while since I played the original FF7 in contrast, okay? In Final Fantasy VII, we were able to depict these types of issues, like the cycle of life, through the concept of the life stream. Yes, of course. If we were to depict it exactly as we experienced it in the real world, it would not be very interesting. True. When Nojima-san's ideas, we were able to have this centered on life stream and the planet within the worldview of Final Fantasy VII. In this way, I believe the game and its themes remain relevant and withstand the test of time. Yeah, because it's not heavy-handed. Like, obviously, they're trying to tell a story, and it does end up evolving. And if you haven't played it, I don't know, like, not spoilers, but Avalanche kind of evolves from its rudimentary, we need to destroy Shinra because they're poisoning the world, to kind of proving that they're right for the different reasons that they were advocating for. But yeah, it was really smartly put forward. So far, so good. Okay. Oh my god, this slap fight between Scarlet and Tifa on top of the Shinra cannon. Yo, that's great. By the way, is where I think that they're probably going to start with the third game. I think they're probably for Rebirth. I don't know for sure. I'm just theory crafting on this one, but I think they're probably going to go all the way through the Northern Crater. If you know, you know, and if you don't, it's meaning that there's probably going to be a lot. And given the fact that it's going to be on 2 discs, the fucking game's going to be on 2 discs. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, they're going to have to go at least into the second disc stories. Like, if they stop where disc 1 ends, right at the Temple of the Ancients, like, that's not going to be enough of the game in order for them to tell it in 3 separate parts. And given the fact that, you know, the original Final Fantasy VII, let's keep it a buck, it was just a bunch of side quests and one major story point with disc 3, like, there's not much that you can tell with that. So yeah, you're gonna have to go about a quarter of a way into disc 2 in order to properly pace everything out, because unfortunately, because I'm sure they probably had much loftier ambitions with this, but only focusing on Midgar, which is 10% of the overall story of Final Fantasy VII, and expanding that into one full game, you kind of kneecapped yourself a little bit. There's some shit that I can't wait to experience in Rebirth. Anyways, despite having just declared the game standing the test of time, Kitase followed up on how he was disappointed with Final Fantasy VII. Which, yeah, okay, considering the way to depict social problems, social issues, and cultural depictions, in some ways, I'm a bit embarrassed by the original title. What do you mean by that? Okay, in its expression, in some ways, it was a very young and naive in itself. Well, yeah, exactly, just the eco-terrorism aspect, like, okay, you want to make the world a better place, but blowing shit up and killing a bunch of people, it's probably not the best way to do that. Okay, that is a learning for us. But at the same time, I do believe that perhaps that's one of the reasons why it was so widely accepted. Oh my God, I can't tell you the type of weight that has been lifted off of my shoulders. God damn it, man. It's not perfect. It's kind of uneven and jagged in its young, naive nature of its depiction. Of course, after more than 25 years, there's a lot of personal learning, changes, and growth. But looking back on it, some of the parts, I'm a bit embarrassed. Yeah, you find Tifa's underwear in her house. Why do you need her orthopedic underwear? No goddamn idea, but you do. But you do. She's going to her house to try to play the piano, but then at the same time, it's like, you know, you want to go snooping through a room and they can pick up her underwear. It's like, I get it. It's kind of funny, but why? No. I can understand. Like, if that's stuff that you're talking about, that's fine. The offending elements within Final Fantasy VII weren't elaborated by Kitase, which is only good, but can be speculated due to modern mainstream media typically being held under extreme scrutiny to avoid offense and political correctness. But at the same time, Square Enix, even though as a business they're complete and total dog shit and everything that they put out under their own banner, to save a couple of examples, has been kind of ass. They've been terrible stewards for their own, you know, just incredible IPs. I mean, Final Fantasy 16, for what I can tell, I obviously still haven't had the opportunity to play it, and I know very little about the story, and I'd love to keep it that way until I can get my hands on a PS5, or the PC port is supposed to be coming out shortly-ish, which will be great. I'll just get the PC version. It ended up facing backlash because, oh, it's not diverse enough. It's like, yeah, well, we're trying to tell a story over here, so y'all can go fuck yourself, which is fantastic. But this was a concern that I never really bought into. Okay, Square Enix is also familiar with accepting of this, as Final Fantasy VII Remake had Tifa Lockhart's chest tightened by the ethics department. Oh my God, they cut down on the size of her boobies. Like, yo, you understand that she was just basically wearing the fucking cut-off tank top that's just, like, it's not practical at all whatsoever, and okay, cool, she was given another black undershirt. Okay, cool. Oh, but they shrank down the size of her boobies. Like, not really? Like, I guess maybe if you go side by side, you could just go ahead and tell that, you know, oh, maybe she's down from like a double E to now she's just a double D. Oh, nuts, I can no longer enjoy the storytelling on that one. That really sucks. Like, if they would have made her as flat-chested as Aerith, that would have been a problem. But no, they clearly didn't. It's like, oh my God, well, Cloud's hair is not as spiky as it was back in the original. That means that the game has gone woke. A bunch of these fucking assholes that just want to go ahead and navel gaze when it comes to this stuff. Oh, everything that's new that comes out is woke, and oh, it's just terrible what happened. No, sometimes you motherfuckers are just as bad as the snowflakes that you like to criticize. Tifa is still fucking sexy. The dialogue, the amount of female doting over Cloud, I remember just noting that even back in 2020 when I first played the game. It's like, wow, this is kind of crazy. He's got Tifa, he's got Aerith, and he's got Jessie just completely and totally salivating over him. You never see this in depictions in today's day and age. Really, it's great storytelling because it's accurate and faithful storytelling. The company later explained the department's job was to ensure that the game met expected age ratings in various nations. Yeah, because, okay, if Tifa was dressed the way that she was back in the original, she would have her old nipples popping out, okay? You'd have to worry about, you know, if there was, you know, tape on the bottom of the top. Okay, make sure that, you know, one of her giant titties weren't flopping out. Like, everybody got an update. Okay, Barrett obviously has like a straps and a big leather band in order to, you know, make sure that his gun arm doesn't fall off. Like, brother, there are updates. There are things that make sense, and effectively acted like a localization to avoid content that would be deemed discriminatory, prejudicial, or offensive in any nation right from initial development in Japan. And yeah, you can also chalk that up to Square Enix being a stupid company that has so much money riding on all of their projects they need to send or sell tens of millions of copies. But yeah, okay. Oh my God, you know, Tifa titties were smaller. Barrett, yeah, shares some of the characteristics of other black characters from the 80s and 90s. He's still bombastic. He's still singing tunes. Okay, he's still over the top, and he's still swearing. What's the fucking problem? Yeah, and the Honeybee Inn, okay, wasn't really changed that much. from its depiction, it was simply added on with Andrea. Oh Christ, I just played that part. Andrea Rodea, right? The guy who's in charge of the honeybee inn. Being a little fucking, freaky, but you're so entrenched with that sexualized nature, yeah, you start to play around with things, and that's where I'll leave that. They don't push it any further than that. He's a man who's peddling a lust. He's trying to convince, Cloud to do the most lustful actions possible. Yeah, kind of seems on brand. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the rest of the iterations into this new telling of Final Fantasy VII, because the damsel in distress trope wasn't so much a trope, and it wasn't really addressed because, Cloud saves both Tifa and Aerith multiple times over in the story, and one of the biggest payoffs, which we might not end up getting until third and final game, is Tifa taking care of Cloud the best way possible. So as long as they don't fuck up any of the characters from Remake into Rebirth, and I got a theory that, Game 3 is going to be called, I don't know, big spoilers on this one if you ever played the original, if they're going to be keeping with that theme of well, it's going to be reunion, okay? That should be as obvious as the day is long, but chances are we won't be seeing that. Hopefully by the end of the decade, fucking get back to work on this one and stop worrying about, this is too woke. It's from the original fucking game. The entire game was blowing up all of the aspects of the Midgar section of Final Fantasy VII. Sometimes, man, these right-leaning culture warriors are just as insufferable as their leftist counterparts. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it and play Final Fantasy VII Remake if you have a passing interest. I guarantee you will not have a bad time with it. Take care, everyone.